Good morning. My name is Ed Robb. I'm the ranking member of the Education Committee, and I'm here with many of my colleagues from the Assembly Republican Conference this morning to reintroduce our Apple plan. But we want to start by talking about an issue that, is very, very much in the present moment. This morning, in just a little while, we're going to start the education budget hearing. We're going to talk about a lot of issues in there, but there's something obviously hanging over this entire process in the education budget, and that's that the governor has taken a pretty much unprecedented action with regard to the school aid runs. Normally, the budget's presented. We have school aid runs that we can share with our local districts. They use them to plan their budgets. They use them to make sure that they can make the very, very tough decisions they have to make every year regarding staffing, regarding different programs they have in their schools, and they don't have that information this year. And it's because the governor has decided that he's not going to give the information because he has some policy initiatives that he wants to push, and he thinks by not releasing that information, it's going to put pressure on everybody in the educational realm and everybody in the legislature to pass those reforms. And just to start this morning, me and a number of my colleagues, Al Graff, Dave McDonough, and Dean Murray, who are all members of the Education Committee from Long Island, wrote a letter a couple weeks ago to the budget director calling on them to release these school aid runs. A number of groups, school-related, education-related groups have done that call as well in the last couple weeks, and we're again calling on the governor this morning to make this budget process fair, open, and transparent, and release that information to our school districts. Not giving that information is only punishing the children of this state because it's basically making our superintendents and school boards go through their budget process without an essential piece of information. So we hope that he will answer that call, release that information, and make sure that our school districts have the ability to plan their budgets properly by having some picture of what the state's going to give them, and it will only make the process easier in every school district throughout New York State. We're going to actually be looking at adding something to our Apple plan, which was introduced last year, to ensure something like that doesn't happen again, because we don't think that public policy should happen under fiscal duress. We're here this morning to reintroduce that Apple plan. The Apple plan was something that the Assembly minority came up with last year after we held 11 official forums all over New York State, and a number of our members held other forums in their districts. We heard testimony from educators, from parents, from students themselves, from experts in early childhood development about Common Core, testing, standardized testing, what it was doing to their children. And we came back and went to work on putting together a plan that we think addresses a lot of these issues. The Apple plan is a reflection of those hundreds of hours of testimony, thousands of people that we spoke with, and it's, to this date, still the only comprehensive plan to fix and improve on our educational system. The Apple plan includes a restoration of the gap elimination adjustment, which will be a major topic of discussion as we move forward in the budget. It includes reforms to the process for appointing the New York State Board of Regents to ensure more transparency and to ensure that the people of New York State truly have a voice within that body that is responsible for so much of our education policy. It includes measures to ensure that English language learners and special education students have every opportunity to achieve in our schools by making sure that standards like the Common Core make proper accommodations for their particular levels of learning. To that end, we're reintroducing this morning Assembly Bill. This year it'll be A3656. This is a bill last year that was 8844. It's a bill we put up as a hostile amendment to a majority bill last year, which would have halted the implementation of the Common Core and allowed for a group of educational experts to study many issues with it, including its impact on special education students, including its impact on English language learners, including the developmental and age appropriateness of that curriculum. And we believe that these are measures that should have been taken before we ever adopted the Common Core. And now is as good a time as ever with the governor's many proposals to continue to push forward with the reliance on standardized testing that we look at this and get this right. The major amendment to the bill from last year is a provision that will allow that blue ribbon panel that's being created to actually move forward with recreating New York State standards. We had New York State standards for many years. It's a bit of misinformation that's been out there that we didn't have standards before the Common Core. We did. And the New York State Board of Regents had actually begun a process of writing new New York State standards, which they pushed aside in favor of Common Core. So we're hoping to push this bill this year to give the opportunity to restart that process of having our own New York State standards and giving the flexibility to every school district within New York State to meet the needs of each individual student that they're responsible for educating. That's the bill in a nutshell. I'm going to give my colleague on the Assembly Education Committee, who traveled around the state with me 2 falls ago, Al Graff, an opportunity to address the issue as well. Thank you.
There are a couple issues here, and one of the big issues is the not releasing the school runs. A couple years ago, the governor stated that he was going to be the advocate for the children and the students of this state. Well, this directly affects the students because if the schools don't have the opportunity to try to formulate their budget, what programs are they going to be cutting? Are they going to be cutting their arts program? Are they going to be cutting their music program? And he just puts our kids at a disadvantage while the schools are trying to prepare their budget. The other thing, too, is the governor's he's actually doubling down on the tests. Now, last year he put in a bill that would put a two-year moratorium on using the tests to grade the teachers and the students. Then when he was on the campaign trail, he said that it was so bad we need a 5-year moratorium. Then this year, after giving us a message of necessity, telling us how important it was to push this forward, he goes and vetoes his own bill. Now understand something, the Common Core, they're going to be grading teachers on the Common Core testing of these students and other tests, whatever the governor wants to try to put in there. But how do you grade a gym teacher? How do you grade a music teacher? How do you grade an art teacher? How do you grade a child, or a teacher that's teaching children with learning disabilities? How about the wave of new immigrant children that didn't go to school in their home countries, and now they're going to school in a lot of our communities now? You're going to grade the teachers on them. One of the biggest things that we talked about was they were grading students on their chronological age. So if a child has a learning disability and he's at a 3rd grade level, but chronologically he's in a 5th grade level, they're grading them on a 5th grade level. And the answer last year was, we'll give them a couple more hours to take the test. You can give them a couple months. If they're not developmentally in 5th grade, you can't test them on a 5th grade level if they're at a 3rd grade level. So what we try to do is give a common sense approach on how to fix education in New York State after listening to everybody. The biggest thing that this conference has done, we went out there, we did these forums, we sat there for 4 or 5 hours, we let everybody speak, and we actually listened to people. And the problem right now is the governor and many people in the majority aren't listening. They're not hearing the message. Common Core was a big issue this year in the election. There was actually a line that was created to stop Common Core. Well, you know what? They didn't get the message. So we're pushing it a little farther. We're pushing it to get them to understand the problems out there. And we have to get this right for our kids, because the kids are the ones that are suffering out there. So, I mean, I would ask that you take a look at our plan. You know, come speak to us, talk to us. We'll tell you what we heard out there. There are nightmare stories out there with the Common Core. And now there's other states after state pulling back from it. So this is an important plan. I think that, you know, everybody's got to take a look at it. Put the partisan stuff aside, and let's do it. You know, this isn't about politics. This is about our children. And it's time for everybody to step up and do the right thing.
Thank you, Al. Again, we want to thank all of our colleagues that are joined with us this morning on an issue that I know is important to each and every one of us and all of our constituents. And again, we feel that this conference has put forth a comprehensive plan to deal with a very, very serious issue that every child who's being educated in New York State schools is dealing with right now. And we urge all the stakeholders in education to take a look at it. We reiterated this plan in response to the governor's letter that he sent back in December to the Chancellor Tisch in the Board of Regents, just to tell them, again, you're raising all these issues. We have a comprehensive plan. Please take a look at it. So we're asking all of our other colleagues in the legislature to consider signing on to our bill, to work with us to moving New York State's education forward, and certainly to making sure that we have the essential bit of information for our school boards and our superintendents all over New York State by having the governor release the information that he has been withholding thus far.